Hey everyone, we're back again making chitlins. This is my second go around. I feel a little practiced now, so I'm going to tell you my renewed way of cleaning and cooking Aunt Bessie style chitlins. So this first step is we have to rinse and examine each chitlin because even though they are pre-cleaned, it's just a habit that you have to get in based on the fact that this is a animal's, you know, insides. So because Aunt Bessie's chitterlings or chitlins are shaped like a sack, I cut mine open. And if you want to remove the membrane, you can see how easy it is with Aunt Bessie style. So it pulls off very easy and in one piece. Discard and get rid of that very thin, that piece. We don't need that piece. You can toss it. And this is if you decide that you want to um, remove the membrane. I can tell you that Aunt Bessie's are so clean that beneath the membrane you don't find all of the junk. Back when I was younger, there was no question that you had to pull off the membrane because beneath the membrane is where you found all of the filthy stuff. I won't go into detail. Aunt Bessie's is different. And if you've wondered why they're shaped differently than the long tubular um, intestines, it's because we're eating a different part of the pig innards. In this diagram, you can see that 2 is what we used to eat, at least what I used to eat when I was younger. Aunt Bessie brand of chitterlings are the cecum, which is number 3, and that is the cap at the end of the intestine. And that's just in case you didn't know and you were wondering why they were shaped differently. I know I was wondering that. So let's commence with the cleaning. Check each piece, rinse, and if you want to remove that membrane, go right ahead and do it. This next step is to actually do the cleaning. We've only rinsed them so far and checked them, but now we have to clean. And what I use is apple cider vinegar. I'm going to use about a quarter of a cup, and I submerge the chitlins because I can't keep saying chitterlings, yeah, it's chitlins. I submerge them in cool water. I use about a quarter cup of apple cider vinegar. And not only is it going to clean them, but it is also going to tenderize. And it does help with the smell, although I do find that Aunt Bessie's brand of chitlins don't have the smell like back when I was younger and we were using the type that were like in the long tubes. So while they're soaking, and I'll let them soak for about 15 minutes, I'm going to cut them down into a manageable size. They're not really at this point, the way I'm cutting them with these shears, they're not really edible size. They're just kind of a manageable size because when they get done, what I do is just kind of run a knife through it with a fork and just cut them up a lot smaller. This step is the final rinse, and basically it's clean. I am just rinsing the vinegar taste off, and if you want to, you can rinse it under tap water. My tap water doesn't run very strongly, so this is how I choose to do it, but it's totally up to you. As you can see, the water is clean, and if it's not clean, go ahead and rinse it again. Between each step, I've cleaned the sink. I've sanitized everything with hot water and soap, and you have to use a disinfectant. I use a kitchen cleaner. You can use bleach and a little bit of water. People don't really talk about this stuff, but this is very important. We are talking about the spread of Ebola. People say, my chitlins are so clean that you're not going to get sick off of them. No, you probably won't get sick from the chitlins. You're going to get sick from the cross contamination. So the shears, the faucet handles, anything else that you've touched has to be cleaned. Now that our chitlins are washed, it's time to add them to a pot. Don't add water. What we're going to do is we're going to boil them for 30 minutes. I would say get them to a boil, bring them down to a simmer. That first water we're going to get rid of, not because I think it's contaminated or anything. Oops, I dropped it. But because it's fat and we don't need that first water. Look at all that water that came out. I did not add any water. No liquid was added at all. And this has been cooking less than 30 minutes, probably about 20 minutes. So we're going to drain all of that out. Now it's time to add our flavor to our chitlins. So what I'm using today is 2 bay leaves, 2 cloves of garlic, a half an onion, a medium hot pepper because I had it, a potato, white pepper, salt, and chicken stock or chicken broth. This is 10 pounds of chitlins, 2 bags of Aunt Bessie's. I'm using the full carton of chicken broth. I use 1 potato. I don't know if it's really necessary to do this. This is kind of old school, is to catch the impurities. I add my onion. Some people add celery. I don't like celery that much. So I'm going to use this green pepper for a little bit for heat and a little bit for the pepper taste. Because I added chicken stock or broth, I should have cut down a little bit on the salt. So what I would suggest is to not add salt at this point because you can't taste it for salt, you know? Wait until the end, but if you feel you need to, probably just use 1 teaspoon of salt or whatever type of sodium flavor that you prefer. So I've diced up my garlic, added 2 bay leaves, and I'm using a half teaspoon of white pepper. I love the taste of white pepper, but if you like black pepper, you can use that. You can use crushed red peppers as well. A lot of people use that. I'm not using that because I put that pepper in there. But if you don't have this pepper, I would use the crushed red pepper. Add it to your taste, but you might want to start out with just 1 teaspoon. I forgot to tell you that I'm going to add Frank's red hot sauce because I can't cook anything savory without Frank's red hot sauce. And I measured it, but I normally wouldn't measure. Yeah, I'm just being extra for the camera. That was about 1 tablespoon. But later I'm going to go back and add some more because I just love that flavor. Chitlins on the stove top will take a minimum of 3 hours to cook. But if you want them really tender, you really should go a little bit longer. Once they've come up to a boil, simmer them slowly so they don't evaporate. So now they have been cooking for 3 hours. I did go back and add more water because we pour off the first set of water. It just needed some more. I didn't want to use more broth because I didn't want it to be salty. And it's time to remove the potato, which is the optional part. I don't know if Aunt Bessie's really need a potato in there. Be sure to come back and stir it. Make sure it doesn't stick at the bottom, that the water didn't all evaporate. After cooking for 3 hours, they are safe for me to taste for salt, seasoning, other spices. My seasoning was spot on, perfectly delicious. However, it needed to be a little more tender for my liking, so I let it go for a little bit longer, another hour. And this, folks, is our end result. They were very tender and melt in your mouth. The seasoning was perfect, although I could have went a little less on the salt. Guys, I hope you try my recipe. And if you would like to see me eat these chitlins, then stay tuned. Okay, folks, it's time to take our first taste. And of course, a little hot sauce. Look at that. See how tender it is. We'll just kind of cut it with this butter knife. Can't wait. It's good. If y'all like chitlins, yeah, Aunt Bessie's, she has the best chitlins. It is really good. And it's really tender. So I know I like them. So let's see if my sister, who hasn't eaten chitlins in years, will like them. So I took her some the very next day.
How long has it been since I had chitlins? Oh, I don't know. 4 years, maybe? All righty. Oh, my goodness, Kim. I mean, Pepper. You Pepper or Kim? Okay.
Either.
Pepper. Girl. Okay, so what I got to say, I got a plastic fork, but that's a plastic knife. Thank you, Mama. You look a little more professional. If y'all have never, I don't know, these are like probably the best chitlins I have ever eaten in my life. They're tender. Okay. They're not chitterling. Like, I've had chitlins that is like, ugh. This is more like a beefy. Did you put beef bouillon in here or something?
No.
Okay. I'm going to try the greens. Guys, this is having the highlight of the story right there. The highlight of this plate. I love greens. Are these collards?
With smoked chicken.
With smoked chicken?
I mean turkey.
Oh, okay. Now, I just want to tell y'all something. I make the best greens.
She does.
But these are so good! OMG. Oh. Okay, so you know how, I'm just going to tell a story. You go to a family member's house. Oh, is this homemade coleslaw?
Somewhat.
It's good coleslaw. I don't know if it's homemade, but it's delicious. So you know you go over to this family member's house and they can cook. And then you go over another family member's house and they can throw down. So I've had good chitlins, I've had great greens, but my sister, and I have said this not to her, maybe I've said it, I don't know if she remembers, she is the best cook that I know. She is the best. She could cook better than me, and I can really cook.
Yes, you can.
She's the best cook. These are delicious.
Thank you, sister.